Just that metaphor alone of like the Mangekyo represents Rin and all of that's genius. The comparisons he draws and the metaphors he draws, I think are brilliant. And he goes into it in such a way that a lot of people don't. So he is at the same time entertaining as well as well-researched. What's up, everybody? My name is Brent Mukai, full-time voice actor for cartoons, video games, anime, etc. Today I'm going to be reacting to one of my favorite anime content creators. I guess maybe not so much anime these days, but Nux Taku. He did a video essay on Kakashi from Naruto. Perhaps you've heard of this anime. Hope you're ready. Hope you enjoy. Let's watch some Kakashi, huh? Bang! Yeah, I'm not gonna make you look at a big version of me the whole time.
In the ninja world, those who break the rules are scum. That's true. But those who abandon their friends are worse than scum.
From the very beginning of the series, there was an extraordinarily faint idea of Kakashi's past, but from the impression given, it was not a pleasant one. During his time off, he would mourn by the village's memorial stone, and despite the passive-aggressive, assholey, practical, jokey, annoying actions he constantly took to have a fun time.
One of the, what a freeze frame. One of the best moments for sure in anime for a character, just watching a grown man put 4 fingers up a tiny boy's butthole. Man, 2004, different time, I don't think you could do that today. Let's continue.
Pissing off his students. In the entirety of the Naruto series, we did not see him laugh once. Of course, his backstory was revealed to be duly tragic many hundreds of episodes later, but until that point, we still see that sense of foreboding in Kakashi's weary eye. Eye in singular because aside from the fact that the character design of his eye is different than every other character eye in the entire series, it's done very particular.
Is that true? I never knew that. His eye, his one eye, is different than everybody else's eye. That's kind of cool. You did your research. This is what I love. This is why I love Nux. He does his research to know something like that. I never would have known that. Look at how... Also, just look at how sensitive this man looks with one eye. Look at the amount of acting, the brilliant acting done just in this one frame. You get that he's sad, you get that he's covered in blood. This frame tells it all about Kakashi. Covered in blood, sad, but you know, I don't know.
Particularly to articulate a looming sadness, but even more fascinating is his other eye. Today we'll be decoding the tragic metaphor behind Kakashi's Sharingan, as well as the thematic philosophy of his entire character. Today, I'm going to put my hand on the table why I consider Kakashi's narrative to be the main focus of the entire Naruto franchise. And I hope maybe some of you will see Kakashi in a different light than you did until now. From the very beginning of the series, it was made perfectly clear that this Sharingan eyeball thingy is an addendum to his personage. He ain't Uchiha, he can't turn it on or off, he has a scar around it, and even initially, his body can't stand the strain of using it for too long. Yet despite all this, he's world-renowned as Kakashi the Copy Ninja, Kakashi of the Sharingan, a master of 1,000 jutsu copied due to the power of his Sharingan. Even his own personal jutsu, Raikiri, the lightning blade, can only be properly...
Props, by the way, proper Japanese inflection, Raikiri. That was nice.
Utilized in conjunction with his Sharingan. This results in an interesting situation. Kakashi, as we know, is a total beast even without the ultimate eyeball. He was a Chunin at 6, Jonin at 10, and Anbu at 13. These are some pretty legendary stats. In fact, it's the best in the series to our knowledge. It took Itachi until 10 to become a Chunin, and we know how badass that guy is. Yet despite how insanely skilled Kakashi was, by his own right, it's his Sharingan that really gave him access to the ranks of the untold power of the Bingo Book of Legend. Yeah, I watched the dub. The Bingo Book. Kakashi's Sharingan was clearly not part of himself, but outwardly seemed to be a vital aspect of his being. Due to slight daddy issues, Kakashi was a loner as a kid, and despite being surrounded by Rin, Guy, and Obito, he forced himself away from them to do everything himself. So the first time he welcomed Obito into his heart, when they were finally working...
This is probably a good time to say, if you haven't watched the series and you're like, oh, I'm just getting into it now, this is not the video to watch, because major spoils ahead. I mean, you don't know who this guy is yet? then stop watching right now. Stop watching right now if you don't know who this dude is. All right, with the stupid goggles.
Working together as best friends for a common, vital goal, Kakashi went through the mental trauma of believing he caused Obito's death. And that's when Kakashi of the Sharingan was born. That enveloped his identity and became a constant metaphor for the emotional upheaval of his life. The Sharingan itself represented the emotional weight of Obito's loss that he carries with him every day, and that he's constantly reminded of. And of course, the Mangekyo Sharingan, which he acquired through the loss of Rin, acts as a constant reminder of that little bit of tragic past. He constantly bears the grievances of these two losses with him on a physical level, because he literally has that red thing lodged in his face, but also metaphorically, it's a burden to his past of his two best friends.
I love that only the red eye cries, and Obito is a crybaby. That's such a good detail.
Are completely reliant on the three characters he once loved. First was his father, the White Fang of the Leaf, someone who he initially loved, but in the end felt betrayed by. Where that trauma left Kakashi even as a child, as a more—
What was up with that tiny ass sword? Why did he? I never realized that before. Why is his sword so tiny? He's such a badass ninja. He could afford a better sword
but
than
in
this.
the end felt betrayed
Look at that.
by.
Look how tiny that is. What is? That looks like a baton almost. That's probably not look. It probably doesn't look like a baton. I don't do a lot of sports, if you couldn't tell. All right, let's watch.
Where that trauma left Kakashi even as a child, as a morally disingenuous stoic. The second was Obito, a character that he initially vehemently disliked, but within his last moments became Kakashi's best friend. The initial distaste was sparked by his father's betrayal, air quotes, because his father did the right thing and the honorable thing, but being all moral and preachy didn't really help him out. So Obito, fighting for lighthearted, simple-minded, honorable goals, was the bane to Kakashi's new formed ideology. That's where the rift between them started. And the third major theme was Rin. He liked Rin and was liked by Rin, but was not only unable to protect, but instrumental in her death. His powerful lightning jutsu would represent his father's legacy, his Sharingan would represent his self-doubting past, and Obito and his Mangekyo represents his pain and loss in Rin. These three recurring themes are constantly showing up in his life if you looked just slightly past the superficial. And it's this little detail that kept Kakashi as consistently in my top 3 Naruto characters. So now's when I outline bits and pieces of his life in a possibly slightly different light than he may have been seen before. And inevitably, time to get taken over by feels. Kakashi became—
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I didn't know that he also never was shown laughing. Ever? I could have sworn he laughed at one point, didn't he? I could have, even in the episode where he reveals his face and stuff, I could have sworn I heard a hee 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 or something. No? I trust Nux. I trust Nux. But damn, that's like the little details, the minutia of details that Nux goes into is my favorite part of watching a Nux Taku video, because he hits you with so many of these things that the research is so granular, right? It's down to the tiny bits of sand of stuff that you didn't even realize. But that's not the point of the video. Like a lot of people would make like a 10 things you didn't catch the first time watching this. Nux has those sprinkled in as like sprinkles to the sundae that he creates from those details, which is great. Just that metaphor alone of like the Mangekyo represents Rin and all of that's genius in my opinion. The things that he draws, the comparisons he draws, and the metaphors he draws, I think are brilliant, and he goes into it in such a way that a lot of people don't. So he is at the same time entertaining as well as well researched. All right, I'm gonna shut up about how much I love Nux. All right.
Renowned via using his friend's Sharingan, constantly bearing that weight, even though whenever he would use the Sharingan for too long, or the Mangekyo Sharingan, it would leave him bedridden. Delving too far into the burdens he still carried from the friends he lost, Obito, the friend he lost, and
that fight's
to
so
this very
bomb.
day, ended up resurfacing in the series as the main-ish villain, pulling all the strings in the entirety of the story up till the war arc. Kakashi's failure to save his friend resulted in not only his friend's death, but Kakashi had to witness his death twice, each time done to save Kakashi himself. But before his second death, Kakashi had to watch his pure-hearted friend completely driven mad and seek the destruction of the entire
so many
ninja
great
world.
visuals
That same world
in Naruto.
That Obito died protecting twice.
The
What
feels.
really makes the reoccurrence of evil Obito so incredible from Kakashi's perspective was because the other major trauma in his past was how he failed to protect Rin, taking her life with his own hand, no matter the circumstances. But he sees the brutal extent to how badly he failed failed because he failed Obito as well. Yes, in the series proper, it was infuriating that Obito decided to drop some nukes on the universe because the universe killed his girl, but in Kakashi's character writing, it was spectacular. His meeting Obito in the war arc as a relatively evil dude.
And Kakashi inherited the tiny sword. In fact, his sword looks even tinier because he's small in this. What's with the small swords, everybody?
Tore open the wounds of two of his greatest losses, obviously Obito's, but even more powerful in Rin. I've had this idea in the back of my mind for a long time. Superficially, the war arc, especially the Kaguya climax, was a bit of a disaster. I poked fun at it in my honest description series for like 30 minutes straight at its multiple plot holes and inconsistencies. And well, so do most YouTubers, even Swag Kage, my personal favorite Narutuber and bona fide Uchiha Tard extraordinaire, made videos on how to fix the war arc, making fun of the war arc. I will linkify them in the description.
You can tell how old this video is because
videos were not only just valid, but they were prudent. We can all make fun of Kishimoto's bad superficial writing decisions all we like, but it's clear to me at least that the ending he was gunning for all along was the soul of what took place. Don't get me wrong, I'm not coming to say, I forgive you, fam, for superficially screwing up the entire ending, because soul. I believe he wrote himself into a situation where he needed to perform the various ass pulls to retain this soul he was searching for. And the reason why I'm mentioning this here in Kakashi's video is because even though Naruto is obviously the main character,
do we really need this shot twice?
That, it's kind of named after him. Kakashi's thematically the most developed and explored character through the ending climax.
100%.
So while I may do in defense of the Naruto climax video, today will be Kakashi focused, the way I like it. And there's two specific aspects of the Kaguya fight that served as a beautiful ending arc for Kakashi's story. Even after Obito's death, I guess we as viewers never anticipated it to hold any emotional weight, which it did, but he used this dimensional distorting Kamui to literally warp his Sharingan from the dimension of the dead to the dimension of the living. As I've mentioned, superficially it made no sense. The soul was
I don't
there,
remember any of that.
Try, man, guys, please. All these years of Kakashi's fighting using Obito's Sharingan, it served the purpose as a remembrance of his old friend. He used it to help his nation, but he carried the pain it reminded him of along with him for his whole life.
Also, I gotta say, the Zabuza, Kakashi, that whole arc, just gold. Gold. I don't care who you are, if you're a fan of storytelling and characters, that arc will suck you in. And you can make arguments about if the journey is worth it towards the end for the war arc and Shippuden and all that stuff, but I think that it is up until the war arc, it is very solid material and worth a watch if you've never watched it before. So, but if you've never watched it before, why are you watching this? Why are you spoiling yourself on all this crazy goodness? Okay, continuing.
Now it's time to use that pain and to accept your past, because Obito was rooting for him even past his own death. So Kakashi, using the Sharingan at full power, isn't as an heirloom of his friends that sits on his chest as a burden, but at this point at least it's a full-blown entrusted legacy that was given to him to exact vengeance.
You're no match for my tiny sword.
Even more so, it was for Obito's ultimate repentance. This wasn't some plain old Sharingan, mind you, it came along with the Mangekyo as well, and a pretty perfect one at that. As I've mentioned earlier, the Mangekyo represents the loss of Rin. Now, losing Rin served two interesting purposes in...
See, he said that twice now. I don't remember what that means. Does he only get the... I don't think he has the Mangekyo, though. Because when we first meet him, he doesn't have it, but like, Rin dies way before, so we should have... I can't remember. Maybe Nux will probably explain. I'm sure he'll explain.
Kakashi's life in regard to Obito. Firstly, it was the breaking point of Obito. Rin dies, Obito goes nuts, destroys the planet. Makes sense. But secondly, in Kakashi, it was him failing to protect.
And the red eye's the one that's crying.
Dying Obito
so good.
That he would protect. So with Obito literally giving over his everything to Kakashi, it came along with his longest dormant and finally emergent will of fire to do what's right and forgiveness for Rin's death, solving both of these Obito issues. Rin's death would no longer be shackles to Kakashi's life because the past happens. There's no use running away from it because there's no use trying to change it, and there's no use trying to suppress it. Obito giving Kakashi the full power Sharingan wasn't to help him run away, change, or suppress the past. It was the ultimate push forward from the past to move forward. And move forward he does. By the end of the fight, Kakashi is finally comfortable with himself, for the first time in his whole life since his father's death. His Sharingan is gone with the burdens of the past it carried, finally being left to rest. And Kakashi in the future still becomes one of the most legendary ninja alive. He becomes a Hokage.
Whoa, spoilers. Freaking spoilers, dude.
Extraordinary might, and he's no longer famous as Kakashi the copy ninja, and he's no longer famous for his Sharingan. He's a total badass and moral ninja from the third recurring theme of his past.
See, I didn't even think of that. He does get to move on and outgrow, like, it's almost like a crutch, right? It's almost like he's in the shadow of the tragedy, right? He's living in, at least in his mind, he's living in the shadow because he's using the very thing that had brought so much pain to him and to those around him, almost like a martyr. But that now, like that it's gone, it's like it's the metaphorical, I don't even know what I'm saying. Nux is saying it better, but that's the, I would have never put that together like that. It's exactly what it's intended to be, and at the same time absolutely brilliant to even notice it.
Fang of the Leaf, where a wise morality would trump honor.
What the fuck? Yeah, is this a cell phone? What's face is this? It looks like half of a football with a funny cat nose.
And where Kakashi is known as a total beast from his own lightning style jutsu. But as I've mentioned, Kakashi's Sharingan in past was only one major theme of Kakashi's narrative.
Bruh,
during
this
the
fight was
but there was one
so
other
good.
As well, because whole beauty of the Sharingan metaphor throughout the series
say,
that's
based?
finally wrapped up here is basically telling you, start looking forward,
Still
man.
reading the same
future
book.
matters too. So let's talk about what
He's only
Team
reading
7
with
truly
one
is.
eye. He's only reading with one eye. Give the man a break, okay? He reads half as slow as you with one eyeball. Shut up, everybody. Kakashi's a beast.
To Kakashi. Kakashi has not accepted students until Team 7 arrived because each team he'd assess was lacking teamwork. This isn't said, but clearly alluded to. And there's another reason why he grew extraordinarily close to Team 10 as well. Naruto was the #1 knucklehead ninja of his generation. He wanted to become Hokage, and he wallowed in his childish mentality despite having such straight-laced morals at a young age. All those attributes I've just described in Naruto is exactly what made him a bit annoying, I'll give you that, but they're also the exact identical focal attributes Obito possessed in his childhood. And I'll get back to Naruto in a moment. But if you look at Sasuke, the kid with the sad past of his family dying, and in his eyes, he was betrayed by his greatest role model, who brought disgrace to his entire clan as he wiped it out. Because of this past, Sasuke only had the mindset to grow stronger, and he was arrogant to the point that he looked down at his childish contemporaries. These attributes of his, despite being slightly annoying, I'll give you that, are the exact identical focal attributes to Kakashi as a kid as well. And then, of course, the Naruto-Sasuke Sakura love triangle thingy is a basic mimic of the
Why do we
Kakashi
need
Obito
this
Rin
shot?
one, where Sasuke was Kakashi, Naruto was
Why
Obito,
do we
and
need
of course
that
Sakura
shot?
is Rin, because both medical, both in the same love triangle.
That's an interesting point that he brings up, is that, like, so I think that the point that he just sort of brushed over, but that's interesting to think about, is like, to me, Kakashi is like Naruto, is like Sasuke, but he had further tragedy beyond the betrayal, right? In the death of a close friend. So it's like, if Sakura dies, right, does that then change the whole path and trajectory of Sasuke's arc and all of that stuff, you know, in the way that it did with Kakashi? Or flip side, I guess, putting from Kakashi's perspective, if Obito doesn't die and he doesn't learn that lesson, does Kakashi seek power? Does he just become this machine hardened and not attain the sensitivity and the empathy that he would have, that he got by, you know, having to deal with all this tragic loss?
Triangle thingy, and both useless. I feel like I just ruined a good moment there. Anyway, the point is, there are
It's all right, Nux. So did I. I paused your video right at like a crucial moment. But I guess that's the whole point. Why else react to it if I'm not going to talk, you know?
these three superficial seeming differences dividing Sasuke's situation to Kakashi's, despite their basic philosophies resonating with each other perfectly. The first is Sasuke had a focal point for his anger being Itachi, while for Kakashi, his father was already gone. So
yeah.
while he had something to focus on to exact revenge, that focal point was not getting any closer, with Itachi still insanely easily overpowering him in the Tsunade arc, making Sasuke's steady growth in strength seeming pointless. The second was the welcoming hand of Orochimaru, which was not tempting Kakashi, and the third was Kakashi witnessed Obito's demise and he felt responsibility, causing him to reconcile from his arrogant stoicism, while for Sasuke, he saw Naruto surpass him in many ways, which only was fuel to the fire of helplessness. These are situational differences that were due to life experiences. That's what made their individual pasts so extremely dissimilar. If not for that, they're one and the same, and Kakashi saw that very well. Kakashi taking Sasuke for private training between the second and third rounds of the Chunin exams were, yes, pretty terrible sensei-ship to Naruto, but where in Kakashi's mind, it was pivotal to Sasuke. Kakashi assumed Lightning Blade was the only solution to Gaara's invincibility, and Sasuke needed to win desperately, but he did not get that win. Not only did he lose, he got to see Naruto take that victory.
I remember at the time when I was watching it, I was like, that's kind of unfair playing favorites like that, you know? How would you feel if you walked into class and your teacher was private tutoring somebody else more than you, even though there's only three people in the class, and your teacher's like, all right, but I'm going to give private lessons to the one who's the most talented, and the two of you can just go find your own mentors, you know? That's not a good look. I don't know in what scenario, what class that would be, but your favorite subject, let's say. You'd feel slighted, and Naruto didn't. That's nice, but yeah, I remember feeling like, oh man, that's kind of playing favorites. What the hell? But totally makes sense. Totally makes sense in retrospect why. And if that was planned all the way from the beginning with knowing Kakashi's story and everything and seeing all those things, because we don't get that whole part of it till much later on, you know, in the manga and then especially in the anime. We don't get Kakashi's whole Obito story and everything with Rin until much later on. So really interesting.
Another situational difference between Sasuke and Kakashi that Kakashi saw coming, tried everything to avoid, and still failed miserably. Team 7 was Kakashi's past thrust into a different situation, and Kakashi would get it right this time. But Kakashi didn't get it right this time. Sasuke, due to these experiences, deserted to seek counsel by Orochimaru.
Wouldn't be much of a
Kakashi
show if he
lost
did get it
resolve in
right.
Training Team 7. Kakashi once again saw his family crumble, Naruto getting adopted by Jiraiya, Sakura receiving training by Tsunade. But this is why I call Kakashi's narrative the focal point of the Naruto series. The Kaguya climax was for him. Throughout the greater narrative, Kakashi's soul was at 2 points of time at the same time. It was living in the past, carrying his past with him wherever he went, with the burden of the Sharingan and Mangekyo in every action of his life.
What song is playing under this? And that's he's like an American, so I don't know that song. Is that Ed Sheeran? I just imagine anyone playing a sad song with guitar is Ed Sheeran.
Constantly,
and I'm usually right. I mean, for real, I'm usually right. Let's continue.
Grieving and going to the village memorial stone, and the second half of his soul was in the present, reliving these same attributes that made him who he is vicariously through the lives of Team 7. But this time, the outcome was unforeseeably different. It wasn't Obito and Rin that didn't make it, represented by Naruto and Sakura, but it was the Kakashi of the generation. It was Sasuke who didn't make it. And it was clear to Kakashi that he only is who he is today because of the losses he's suffered and the experiences he's experienced.
Is this
For
video,
a lot of people,
am I reacting to something that's going to get taken down? Because there's a lot of copyrighted music here. I don't care if it gets demonetized because I'm not monetizable yet, but this is a lot of copyrighted music. I don't know. I hope it doesn't get taken down.
one of the high points in Shippuden was when Naruto first met Sasuke since the time skip. It was cool and all, but I vehemently am putting my foot down that Kakashi meeting Sasuke at the 5 Kage Summit was far more powerful of a moment. Kakashi saw himself inside Sasuke, but a version that went terribly awry. But again, he felt responsible for another loss. As the sensei figure, he was responsible for something becoming a monster, and it was completely at this point out of his hands to rectify. Both halves of his soul that were brutally battered into tatters were simultaneously regenerated in the Kaguya fight. Obito completely gave Kakashi a perfect closure by giving him a perfect ass pull Susanoo, saying, "The past cannot be changed, but the future can." can, as I've mentioned. So with his sights set forward, Team 7, which played the role as his precious students as well as his vicariously living family, did the impossible and came together for the first time, fully respecting one another and overcoming the greatest evil known to the ninja world. Neither Team Minato nor Team Kakashi ever successfully managed this in the past. There's never a single point in time for the squad of Obito, Rin, and Kakashi or Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke that they ever fully worked together trusting each other. And from this point on in the series, even in Boruto, Kakashi's eyes are not drooped with a stoic sadness, but they're vigilant with a prideful contentment. We now close the book on Kakashi's past, multi-generational, somber thematic narrative, so we can crown him as a successful Hokage, no longer bearing the metaphoric burdens of the Sharingan.
Why though?
But no longer bearing Kakashi's past.
Why are you just? What is this? I don't know.
Multi-generational, somber thematic narrative, and we
I'm thinking
can crown
about it
him as
too
a
much.
successful Hokage, no longer bearing the metaphoric burdens of the Sharingan, but be badass nonetheless, finally accepting the hero White Fang's legacy as a moral leader, and a master of non-Kekkei Genkai, basic but powerful lightning-style jutsu. Kakashi, only after all this time, can finally have a future. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'm personally really happy with how this video came out, and I would love to hear in the comments what your thoughts on it also. Because
please go check out Nux Taku. If you like anime, you're gonna like Nux Taku. So his more recent stuff, he's sort of going into VTuber / collaborative YouTube game shows and collabs type stuff. But his catalog of anime material is top notch. If not the best, close to the best on YouTube that I've ever seen, at least. Yeah. Check it out.
it took a lot of time to put together, and honestly, I'm curious to hear if your opinion of Kakashi has changed even a little slightly. Feel free to leave a like if you did like, and feel free to subscribble if you want.
Same. This is the time. This is a good time. This is a good reminder. You know, if you like this, if you like some extra replay value of watching this again through my eyeballs, like leave a subscribe and comment below what you'd like me to react to next, because I don't know a lot of other Annie tubers. I like Nux. I like, you know, the Rant Cafe guys. But I don't know. So if there's a video you'd like me to react to, please leave it below. Comment it.
With that, I bid you adieu. Have yourself a most wonderful evening, and remember to stay weird, fam.
In the ninja world, those who break the rules are scum. That's true. But
Awesome.
those who abandon their friends
Awesome ending on this.
are worse than scum.
Yep. All right. Well, that is the deepest character in Naruto, Kakashi of the Sharingan and the 6th Hokage, which I guess in itself is a little bit of a spoil if you haven't watched it. So sorry if you haven't. You were planning to, but go watch it now. You know, it's a good show. It's a good series, and go check out Nux. Thanks, everybody. See you next time.